On Larry King Now, Emmy winner Carol Kane.
You know, for me, it is always, always, always about the great writers. I have been unbelievably lucky in that area because the first time I was ever on television was Taxi with Jim Brooks and Ed Weinberger. We found out about 2 weeks ago that they were, as it were, canceling us. However, I guess we're gonna get to do a movie, Kimmy Schmidt movie, to wrap up the story, so that'll be great. Seriously?
Seriously.
I'm stunned and appalled.
You're a New Yorker, he's a New Yorker.
We have nothing in common, believe me, nothing in common.
Plus, best piece of advice you ever got.
Well, you know, you said something to me very interesting in terms of advice today. You said I never learned anything from listening to myself talk.
It's all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now from New York. And today we're joined by actress and comedian Carol Kane. For decades, Carol has brought us memorable roles on both the stage and screen in Hester Street, Annie Hall, The Princess Bride, Wicked on Broadway, and of course, Taxi. She's won 2 Emmy Awards and received an Academy Award nomination. Carol currently stars in the comedy Unbreakable, Kimmy Schmidt, the 4th season of which premieres May 30th on Netflix. Have you already shot that 4th season?
We have shot 7 of them. We have 6 more to go. But
Is there going to be a 5th season?
no, there's not.
This is it?
Yes, we found out about 2 weeks ago that they were, as it were, canceling us. However, and we were all pretty shocked. And I know that Tina Fey and Robert Carlock, our head writers, had hoped to continue. But so instead, I guess we're going to get to do a movie, Kimmy Schmidt movie, to wrap up the story. So that'll be great.
Oh, you play the what, the landlord?
I play the landlady. My apartment building is a sideways tugboat, and up in Harlem. And Kimmy and Titus live in my building, and I spend a lot of time at their apartment uninvited. But I invite myself. We have to do that,
It kind
right?
of begins with a tragedy. Kimmy escapes from a cult.
That's right. It's a very an unusual premise for a comedy. She escapes from a bunker where she's being held captive by John Hamm's character, the Reverend, and the mole women, of which Kimmy is one, come to New York to be on. Well, they're on with Matt Lauer. That was a different time when that was written. And Kimmy decides to stay and make her way in the big city.
Did Tina Fey cast you personally?
Yes, it was just the greatest thing. I just got a phone call, to come in, and I was shocked because I'm a huge admirer of Tina's, and I had always wished I could be on 30 Rock and meet her, and then it just happened.
What's she like to work for?
She is an extraordinary human being. She is so smart. She's available all the time for everyone. I don't know how she does it, and plus she's a full-time mother. She drops her girls off to school in the morning and then comes to the set, and now they've got Mean Girls going and a million other. I mean, she's amazing. And her partner is Robert Carlock.
What's it like to work for Netflix, the powerful giant that it's become?
Well, it's been very nice. It's been really
Is it true
nice.
they don't bug you?
They don't bug me.
No, I hear
No,
they
I don't think they do, because I think that they probably are just picking and choosing the creators that they want to work with, and then they give them a lot of free reign.
Is it the same for you, working Netflix or working regular television or working a movie? Is it all?
For me, it is always, always, always about the great writers. That's all it's about for me. I mean, directors, of course, are super important, but in television, the creators of the show, that's everything depends on
It's
that.
on the page.
It's on the page. And I have been unbelievably lucky in that area because the first time I was ever on television was Taxi with Jim Brooks and Ed Weinberger. Yeah.
Jim Brooks, a genius.
And Jimmy Burrows was our director. And I mean, yeah, so it just, and here I am getting a sort of second opportunity to work with great creators.
How did you get Taxi, that brilliant part with Andy Kaufman? How did you get that?
Well, again, I think that was not that long after Hester Street, and so I was speaking Yiddish in Hester Street, and I guess someone had the idea that maybe I could speak Latka's language, and so that again was just came to me, you know. And,
What was he like?
Like no one else in the whole world, of course. You know, he was a great performance artist. He was wildly committed to his characters, and he wouldn't break for anything or anyone. And we had a fascinating relationship because
I would bet.
Yeah, well, I grew up, you know, in the theater, so I love to rehearse. I love it. And Andy came from the world of stand-up, and he hated to rehearse. So we would constantly be negotiating with each other. And we would have great, because we really had sort of a passionate feeling about rehearse, not rehearse, we would have these passionate talks before we shot every Friday night. I wish you had been here to rehearse. I understand, I appreciate that, but I can't rehearse. And anyway, we'd have these passionate talks, and by the end of the talks, we'd be ready to be a married couple. We would have a real passionate relationship.
He was a tragic figure in the end, wasn't he?
Oh, so tragic. I mean, unbelievable.
He was a genius.
He was a genius, Larry. He was a genius.
So the movie, Kimmy, you excited? It's going to be a movie.
Oh, I'm so excited. I have no idea what the story's going to be, but it's going to be Tina and Robert, so it's going to be good.
Which of Carol Kane's many unforgettable roles impacted her the most? Plus, who's the Emmy Award winner's dream co-star? Stay with us on this edition of Larry King Now in New York with Carol Kane. We're back with Carol Kane, season 4 of her hit TV series, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. It is the last season on Netflix, but it's going to be a full-length film. You learned it right here. Will you always want to be an actress?
Yes, I have to say that when I was 5 or 6 years old, my mother took me to see a play, children's theater, and I just was instantly, madly in love.
Where'd you grow up?
And I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, but I grew up in a lot of different places. I spent some time in France when I was young.
Was your father in the army?
My father was an architect. His name was Michael Kane, and he did a lot of traveling for his work. He had a Fulbright, a reverse Fulbright to study at the Sorbonne in Paris, so we moved there.
Wow.
He worked in Haiti he worked for the government for underdeveloped countries and housing.
So you had quite an upbringing.
Oh, yes, I had a fascinating upbringing.
But had the bug for be on the stage. What was your break?
My break was like The Wizard of Oz when I was 7. I mean, children's theater, you know, and I loved it so much that I would be pretty much as happy doing makeup or costumes as I would being on stage. I just wanted to be in that world.
You've had so many incredible roles, and you're always cast in a way where you jump out at us.
Well, thank you. My professional break in the theater was the prime of Miss Jean Brodie on the road with Tammy Grimes. That was my first equity job.
What was your favorite role?
Well, I really, you know, was so lucky to play Giddle in Hester Street. And I love Simca and Taxi. I've fallen in love with a lot of my characters.
Billy Crystal's wife?
Oh, Miracle Max and Valerie, that was not too shabby,
Did
as
you
they
know
say.
that Princess Bride would become the cult film it has become?
Oh, of course not. Of course not. Although it did have all the makings of
Brilliant.
magnificent, huge-scale fairy tale, directed so beautifully and such a wonderful cast. But you never have any idea if anything will last. But it's wonderful that it's become a real classic.
And you and Billy together, have you done other things together?
Just, no, not really.
Have you ever had a dry spell where...
Oh, all the time. I'm an actress. We go, you know, sometimes over a year without a job. It happens to me all the time. Also because I think, you know, I've had some very specific character roles. Like when I was nominated for Ghetto for Hester Street, I wore a horsehair sheitel. I spoke Yiddish. The phone did not ring for a year after that. Because, you know, that's such a specific type.
Yeah, you're typecast.
Yeah, and then it happens over and over again. But I've had wonderful work.
It's interesting because Henry Fonda told me when he didn't have a script, he was nervous.
Yes. Well, I'm with Henry. I'm with Henry for sure.
No, you wouldn't think.
Oh, Henry Fonda? No, you wouldn't. No, but I think actors, you know, the reality of this life is that there's nothing to count on. And
But you're typed comedically, aren't you?
well, I
think
was
Carol
nominated
Kane,
for Best Actress for a dramatic role, and I used to, in the theater and movies, mostly do dramatic work. And then after Taxi, I got to be thought of as a comedic actress, but, you know.
You were in one of the great horror movies ever made, right?
Yes, I was. When a Stranger Calls.
Wow.
Yeah, the call is coming from inside the house. Yeah.
Charles Durning.
Yes, Charles. Yeah. So wonderful.
Do you have as much fun doing comedy or straight?
Yes, definitely. Like I said, and I hate to keep repeating myself, but for me, if the writing's good, I don't care if it's comedy or straight or what, it's just the writing.
We're going to go to a lot of areas, but what do you think of our president? We've asked this of everybody.
Seriously?
Seriously.
I could go on and on, but the gist of it is I don't think much of him. I'm stunned and appalled. You're
a New Yorker, he's a New Yorker.
We have nothing in common, believe me. Nothing in common. I don't, I feel that he is trying to turn our country into a fascist state. That's
Sad.
what I feel.
When we return, funny fan encounters, best and worst advice, and guilty pleasures in a rapid-fire round of If You Only Knew.
Woo.
We're in New York with the wonderful Carol Kane. Stay with us. We're back with the wonderful Carol Kane. It's the 4th season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and it's going to be a movie. And we play a game, Carol, of If You Only Knew. I just throw some questions at you.
But I don't know.
Then you don't have to answer. What's your strangest fan encounter?
Strangest fan encounter? I don't think I've had very many.
You never had any
strange
crazy people come up to you?
A few here and there, but nothing that I would have
Remember.
a big... No.
Guilty pleasure.
Oh, my gosh. I like to stay home in bed and watch Turner Classic Movies. And
They're
I like to spend time with my mom and my friends and my dog.
Person you trade places with for a day?
Person I'd trade places with? Mark Rylance.
The movie that made you want to make movies?
Oh, okay. Member of the Wedding.
Great wedding.
Julie Harris, yeah.
Character of yours that feels the most like you?
Wow, That's a rough one. I think that each of them is an aspect of me. So maybe there's not, maybe Simca in some ways, but I think that each of them has an aspect of who I am.
What was Latka's language?
Oh, well, you know, I asked Andy, you know, what do I do? How do I learn this? And he said, oh, you know, it's easy. It's just like when you're little and you open your mouth and you speak Chinese or Russian or whatever you speak.
Don't matter.
Just open. For him, it was so natural to be in the childlike state and open his mouth and start making up things.
Secret talent.
Oh, secret talent. Can I get back to you? I don't know.
You don't have to answer.
I think, okay, maybe I won't, because, you know, I think that I might have one, but that it's better to be kept private.
Okay. Childhood celebrity crush.
Oh, Marlon Brando.
Last time you were starstruck.
Oh, God, I'm starstruck all the time, but I think that, you know, I'm consistently starstruck with Robert De Niro, Mark Rylance. I was starstruck by Geraldine Page and Julie Harris. Great actors. I'm in love with great actors. Oh, and my girlfriend Jenna Rollins. She's been my girlfriend for a million years, and I'm still starstruck.
TV show you binge watch. Turner Classic Movies, right?
Turner Classics.
What never fails to make you laugh?
People who are brave enough to embarrass themselves in front of you. I remember once I did a little short film with Christopher Walken, and he showed me this trick that he has of always doing something very embarrassing in front of the crew right before they would roll, because he figured if he got it out of the way to be so embarrassing even before they started rolling, then he would be free when they were rolling. And it was amazing. He's so brave. And when people are really brave and they don't mind embarrassing themselves, it gets pretty funny.
He's a great talent.
A great talent.
What are you bad at?
Bad at? Organization. So bad. I mean, like, oh dear, it's a tragedy.
If you could speak to an animal, what animal would you choose?
Oh, I love dogs. I love monkeys, orangutans. I love animals.
Don't you wonder what they think?
So much. I so wonder. But I feel that they have the biggest, most open hearts, you know, and you just look into their eyes, and it really is just pure love, you know. So.
What keeps you up at night?
Worrying about my mother and my animals.
Best piece of advice you ever got?
Well, you know, you said something to me very interesting in terms of advice today. You said I never learned anything from listening to myself talk. I thought that was a pretty good piece of advice.
Thank you, Carol. In our final moments, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt star Carol Kane will answer your questions from social media, so don't go away. In our final moments with Carol Kane, the 4th season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is available May 30th on Netflix, and it will be made into a full-length movie. This will be its last season on Netflix. We will have some fan questions from social media for you, Carol.
Okay.
At ceremoniously, oh my God, WTF on Twitter. Can you share a special memory about Andy Kaufman from Taxi? You told us about rehearsal.
Well,
what else?
And just what I said to you about learning the language, that for him, because he was so in touch with his child self, for him, just hooking into make-believe languages was so natural.
Did you crack up on that set a lot?
Oh, yes. Well, we had Danny there.
Danny
Let's
DeVito.
face it. and Christopher, and You know, and Tony, Mary Lou, Judd, we're all still friends. It was a pretty,
Great series.
A pretty fun place to
How long
work.
was that on?
It was on 5 years. It was on 4 years on ABC, and then it was on NBC.
Christian Podbielski on Facebook. How do you get around New York City? Do you take subways?
Oh, yes, because otherwise you're just going to be in traffic all day long. I mean, basically, getting around the city, it's become impossible to get from point A to point B without taking the train, in my opinion.
He also asked, do you get noticed a lot when you're on the subway?
You know what? It's some days yes, some days not.
Gordon Markson on Facebook. Where do you think you get your sense of humor from?
Oh, my sense of humor.
Is your mother funny?
I think my mother and father, and they're both artists. Like I said, my father was an architect, and my mother is a composer, a musician, a singer, and I think that they had very creative things around us as we grew up, my sister and I.
Are you married?
I am not married, no.
Were you married?
I was not married.
Never wanted to be?
That's a long story,
Okay,
Larry.
it's not my business.
We can talk about it, but we need a whole nother show.
What's the key to longevity in your business?
I think being willing to change. I think that I have been in my unions for over 40 years, SAG and Equity. And, you know, you're going through transitions, age transitions and transitions of wisdom and all kinds of transitions. And you cannot hold on to what was. You have to say, okay, that's what's happening now. I'm going to go there now.
The only thing
It's
certain,
very hard, though.
The only thing certain is change.
Absolutely, and I'm very bad at it, but you have to force yourself to say yes. You have to say yes.
You're a doll.
You're a doll.
Thanks to my wonderful guest, Carol Kane. Be sure to tune in to Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, entering its 4th season on Netflix May 30th, and look for the coming movie. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things and in New York City. See you next time.